Dear Latinos, being racist to other Latinos, indigenous, and black folks will not bring you any closer to the whiteness that you crave so much. And if this message bothers you, then it was probably meant for you.
Another Latino for Trump just got their happy ending. This is Mario Guevara, a news reporter based out of the Atlanta area who is very pro-ICE and very pro-MAGA. And like most Latinos for Trump, he really thought he was white. He thought they would accept him. He thought he was part of their little group. But to Mario's surprise, he recently found out that he's not that white. Mario is currently in his native country of El Salvador, because he got deported. But it doesn't end there for Mario. He actually got the Latino for Trump special. Not only was he recently deported to El Salvador, but he was also held in an ICE detention center for 100 days. But not only that, he was also held in solitary confinement. He really thought he got the MAGA pass, but instead he got the Latino for Trump special. Now, after being deported to El Salvador, Mario released this statement. And what's insane to me is that he is still bootlicking. He still thinks he's white. He still thinks that MAGA loves him. He still thinks that he's part of their special little group. But regardless, I love happy endings like this. Karma is a beautiful thing, and karma does not discriminate. But anyways,
for all Hispanics, Latinos, and Mexicans that voted for Donald J. Trump, this message is for you. I am so proud and honored that we made our voices heard. That no matter how many insults the Democratic Party threw at us, or how many Hollywood stars they threw at us, or how many fake promises they threw at us, the Hispanic, Latinos, and Mexicans voted for life, defending the unborn, voted for Christian principles. We never denied God like Judas. We stood by him. We voted with a Christian conscience and said yes to life, yes to Christian principles, yes to children of God and their innocence. And blessed are the peacemakers, that we voted for peace and not war.
Latinos for Trump to the front. It's your time. It's your time to shine, babes. Your president just started a war. This is your time to show him how much you really care. Okay, make your people proud. Okay, make sure you bring your playlist.
I will vote for Donald Trump.
Latinos, you can scream MAGA all you want, vote red, only speak English, even call ICE yourself, but you will never be the exception. You will never be white, and it's not going to stop you from getting racially profiled.
Was it worth it? No, seriously, was it worth it? To the 60% of Latino voters that voted for Donald Trump, was it worth it? That's the question. If you didn't know, ICE is conducting raids across the country, primarily targeting the Latino community. I genuinely cannot wrap my head around the people that voted for this man and are minorities and are part of the Latino community. I was shocked when I saw that 60% number, because this man from day one, 2016, has had it out for y'all. He did not fuck with y'all, bruh. And y'all freely handed him the election. And now look at what he's doing. Because there are white illegal immigrants. But then the only people that are getting locked up right now are people that are Latino, that are black, people that are full citizens, but because of how they look, they are getting detained. So I have to ask again, was it worth it?
Absolutely. Latinos for Trump are learning a hard truth right now, that proximity to whiteness is not the same as being white, because for years, many were sold an idea that if you align yourself with power, if you distance yourself from blackness, and if you adopt the identity of whiteness, you'll be treated different or even protected. But today, as deportation rise and the system decides who belong and who doesn't, that closeness to whiteness, it disappears. So let's have a look, and thank you so much for your support. Please share and subscribe, all right? Let's dive into it.
How does the Latino vote differ so much from the black vote?
Because we got our own white people.
Oh.
And people don't understand that. That we have all, and the assimilation possibility for Latinx, Latina, Latin people is higher. People can come from other parts of Latin America, marry white as like they're told to do, assimilate and assume a white identity that black people cannot escape from. So they will continue to vote in that way because to them that's upward mobility. And unfortunately for us, success means being patted on the back. Not all of us, because y'all gonna go crazy on Twitter. I ain't got a Twitter, so it's okay. But they get the pat on the back from white people, and they feel like that's what being American is. Damn. And that colorism is real in our community. It is real.
So Marco Rubio was reminded by Pete Hegseth, once again, no matter how much you cape for whiteness, you will never be white. And this is the funny thing about Latinos for Trump, because they equate white skin or light skin to being white in America. And for white people in America, it doesn't work like that.
Spanish, you all right with it? Oh, good. We don't need an interpreter for this one. Quiero darle las gracias. I think I'm a good interpreter. You'll find out in a second, but...
You see how excited he was to show off his Spanish? Like he's adding something culturally to the table and almost saying like, you know, look, we can do two things at the same time. And this is the response he got from Pete Hegseth.
Mr. President, I only speak American.
That's that good old racism I enjoy. Mr. President, I only speak American. Meaning that what he's speaking and who he is not American. That's what that is insinuating. For those of you who can't, you know, connect the dots. Once again, I will vote for Donald Trump.
Mexicans and Black people haven't really always had the best relationship. And now I know why. It was a survival tactic because they just wanted to be treated as people. And the closer the proximity to whiteness, the closer their proximity to a human being, essentially, to being treated as if they were human. In the Jim Crow era, Mexicans were segregated too. Schools, housing, restaurants. Mexican Americans weren't considered white, but they weren't legally Black either. In that gray area, it kind of gave them an opportunity to wedge themselves in there, and that's what they did. In 1897, a Texas court ruled that Mexicans were white by law, meaning they could avoid Black-only spaces and access certain rights that Black people were denied. That meant no sitting at the back of the bus, no colored-only schools. Instead, Mexicans got their own segregated schools that were better funded. And in court cases, they'd argue, we're white, we're just Spanish-speaking, to avoid harsher sentencing. But it wasn't about fairness. None of this was about fairness for them. It was about protection. They wanted to protect themselves. They wanted to protect their people. In a country built on racism, being one step above Black meant survival. Some Mexican Americans leaned into that, a little too much if you ask me. And then we have the others that fought alongside Black people, especially during the Civil Rights Movement. This history isn't about blame, but I never promised that I would sugarcoat anything. This is about understanding how white supremacy pits people against each other. And honestly, we're still letting that system divide us today. I get it. I do. I'm a Black woman. I'm part of that 92%. I am. I see what's happening. I see what's happened. I feel the hurt. I do. I feel the pain. I feel the betrayal. I feel all of it. I'm not comfortable playing into the trap of white supremacy. I can't let myself do that.
You will never be white. As much as you, a fellow Latino, wants to be in proximity to whiteness, you will never be white. You will never be chosen in that way. As much as you think that you are better than undocumented Latinos because your family came here the right way, or because you're second generation or third generation, or because you either forgot or unaware of the foundation of this country and the fact that immigrants from Europe came here, stole the land from indigenous people, and then literally stole people, and forced them to be slaves, forced them to do labor. So when you think that you want to be in proximity to whiteness because you consider yourself better, think about that. Think about that there is internalized racism in our own community, how there is anti-Blackness in our own community, how there is colorism in our own community. Think about those things, because no human being is better than the other because they think that because they have papers that they are better than another human being. A human being is a human being. There is no alien. There is no illegal when it comes to the world, okay? So let me remind you that you will never be white. Oh my gosh, who said that? Who said it? Who said that?
That minority myth and proximity to whiteness be whooping y'all asses. Because didn't I teach you guys better? Proximity to whiteness is a what class? A privilege. And a privilege is what? not a right. It is something that could be taken away. What I wish I could tell immigrants who migrate to this country, whether you're from Asia, the Caribbean, Africa, Latin America, doesn't matter what part of the world you come from. Whatever caste system, social hierarchy applies in your native country does not fly here. America has its own history. It's an ugly history. And it has its own social hierarchy that is upheld by white supremacy. And if you really think putting on that funky ass red hat and putting them ugly ass bumper stickers on your car is gonna save you from that social hierarchy, this is your wake up call. Like I said in my last video, just because you may be considered white, have great proximity to whiteness in your respective native countries, does not mean you have white privilege in this country. It's better you hear it from me than find out on your own the hard way. When you become tokenized and you are the model minority and you're pedestalized, right? And you're looking down on everybody else and you're willing to throw everybody else under the bridge, under the bus, whatever. Never, ever, ever forget who granted you that privilege, because they will remind you. And by the way, just because you were invited to the club does not make you a member of that club. And do you know why she condemns the immigration crackdown? I hate to say it, y'all were bamboozled, you were scammed, you were duped. They sold you this idea that they were only going to go after the illegals, that they were only going to go after the criminals, right? That's what they were saying. Oh, we're not going to really target the hardworking ones who just quiet, don't commit crimes. We're going to target the bad ones. They scammed you and used your vote in the process, because never ever forget the Republicans can't win elections without minority votes. You thought you were throwing other people under the bus. And y'all are getting this wake-up call that when ICE is patrolling the streets and they're doing their raids and they're masked up and they're freaking everybody out, they're not going to be able to differentiate you between me, between her, between him. ICE, how many stories do we have to see about ICE detaining U.S. citizens, U.S.-born citizens, naturalized citizens? How many times do we have to hear about their fuck-ups, sending U.S. citizens to detention camps with no lawyers, no right to a lawyer, no representation? These people are just grabbed up on the street by unmasked, unclothed people. No due process. You thought because of your proximity to whiteness, because of your privilege, because you were tokenized, because they sold you this fucking fairy tale that you're different, you're the model minority, you did things the right way, you came here legally, you got your papers the right way, you thought you were above everybody, you thought you were better than everyone, until an organization like ICE is not going to care or really tell the difference between somebody who voted for Trump and somebody who's illegal. Because they asking for everybody's papers. I don't know if you noticed. And then have the nerve to act surprised. We told you this was going to happen. We literally told you what was going to happen. And when you give people in power the power to take away due process for one, that threatens due process for all. And I'm here to remind you, whatever privileges you may think you have or possess can be taken away by the very person who granted you that privilege. Let this be a reminder. He who puts you on a pedestal can very easily knock you the fuck off that pedestal.
Yeah, the fact that so many Latino Americans voted for Trump really shouldn't surprise anyone, despite the fact that he gained most of his initial political traction off the strength of anti-Latino immigrant sentiment. The reason it shouldn't surprise anyone is because of paintings like this. This is called the Heden Sonjicam. I said that like it's French, but it's not. It's Portuguese. It's Brazilian Portuguese, and the process being depicted here is known as blanqueamento in Brazil. Basically, these two have a child together, and their child is ostensibly white, even though the child's grandmother is a dark-skinned black woman, and the dark-skinned black woman is praising God because her bloodline has been redeemed. Yes, this has to do with the Latino vote in 2024. So Heden Sonjicam means the redemption of Ham. And as some of you may know, the story of Ham was used to help justify the enslavement of African people for a long, long time. Blanqueamiento is also a concept in Spanish-speaking Latin America and often gets tied up with phrases like mejorar la raza, which means to literally improve the race. So what does this have to do with Trump winning? Well, in America, the enslaved African population was smaller than the white population. The indigenous population was continually being expelled or G-worded. And although SA and SV resulted in a lot of mixing to the point where most African Americans are almost 25% white, in Latin America, projects of domination looked a little different. Intermixing had a different connotation, and people were often encouraged to marry someone with the goal of having a child that was lighter than them. Obviously, colorism is not a uniquely Latin American thing, but it's what's being overtly stated. Even in the context of a country like Mexico, where the black population is relatively smaller compared to somewhere like the Dominican Republic, I think there's a really different perspective about how people relate to Europeanness. All the tensions that existed between America and Britain, the bloodlines were pretty direct in a lot of cases. Even to this day, white Americans are pretty white. It's estimated to this day that 70% of white Americans have no African ancestry, and around 1% have Native American ancestry. Not the same for DR, not the same for Mexico, not the same for El Salvador, not the same for any Latin American country you can think of, really. I think even in cases where people are repping their country hard as hell, there is this implicit aspiration to be closer to the colonial center genetically, that is to say, closer to whiteness. A lot of factors can motivate someone at the same time, but the ghosts of a lot of these ideologies are still haunting us to this day. Like, for instance, if I told you that the issue with climate change really comes down to a misinterpretation of Christianity, you might feel like that's a stretch. But when you really break it down, you realize like, oh shoot, it's not about the thing. It's the thing about the thing about the thing about the thing.
The idea of proximity to whiteness has always been marketed as a form of safety or even privilege. And for a long time, many people, especially immigrant communities, they believe that at some point, because people don't choose proximity to whiteness for no reason, they choose it out of fear, out of hope, and out of the desire for stability, for acceptance, and for a better life. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Proximity to whiteness is conditional, It is not a guarantee. It is a temporary positioning that can be revoked the moment it becomes inconvenient, and that's exactly what we are seeing right now. Because when policies start being enforced, like the deportations, suddenly it doesn't matter how much you aligned, how much you supported, or how much you try to fit in. You will still be seen the same way the system has always seen you. And there is also this message passed to immigrants immediately they step in America, that if you distance yourself from black people, somehow you'll be in a better position and you're going to rise. But when you really look at it, that kind of thinking, it creates division. It makes people who actually have a lot in common start seeing each other as different or even as competition. And when people stay divided, the system thrives, because when you're divided, people don't have the same power as united people. And this isn't about blaming anybody. It is about understanding how these patterns work. Because for a lot of people, they genuinely believe that proximity to whiteness was making the right choice, for themselves, for their families, and for their future. But it is good to know that the system doesn't operate on loyalty, It operates based on how you're seen and how you're labeled. So when people unite, they can actually change things. So I hope people are learning something here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.